try to use the mic a bit. My voice is still recovering from last week. Uh, I see family faces, and it's 5 of who were last week. Can I see a show of hand who was here last week? Ah, that's not bad. One, two, three, four, right? Okay. So welcome to the second part of Petroleum Economics. Sometimes I call it advanced, sometimes I call it application. In some ways, more advanced. Uh, I was telling somebody, actually, this course is more relevant to most people. Uh, it's a bit of quandary. Uh, you need to know the basics before you can attend an advanced one. But the advanced one actually is more relevant to your day-to-day work. So, okay, a bit of introduction about myself. Uh, Retired about 7 years ago. My whole career spent with Petronas. I was moving back and forth. Started with Cherigari, had a stint with MPM. At the time, it was called PMU. About 5 years there, and I came back to Cherigari. A few years before my retirement, I had the opportunity of going to being seconded to Cherigari, Vietnam. So, what I hope to bring to this course is that there is several different experiences. One as IOC, you guys are IOC, yeah? International Oil Company. When I was in Vietnam, we were operating purely as an IOC. Charigari is somewhere in between IOC and NOC. NOC is National Oil Company, which is Petronas, NPM. So Charigari is the subsidiary, the EMP arm of the NOC. So it's very common everywhere. NOC will have their EMP arm. For example, in Indonesia is BP Migas. In Vietnam is PVEP. So you should know because they are your partner in PMCCAA, right? Uh, in Myanmar is MOGE, MOGE. Thailand, I believe they call themselves the same thing, PTT, or is there a difference between the host authority, PTT, and the operator? Anybody know that? I know that they're called PTT. So everywhere in the world, actually, the moment the national oil company is advanced enough, the first thing they will do is create their subsidiary. And this subsidiary, as usual, will try to become IOC outside the country and make a lot of money. That is supposed to be sarcastic, but my background is I studied electronic engineering. I think I had one, right? So petroleum economy actually does not require its own um, discipline of study. Actually, all of us are either reservoir engineer, ex-planner. Most are reservoir engineer because we followed Shell, actually, where Shell, the petroleum economy is under the petroleum engineering group, which is quite different than ESO. ESO, they are totally outside, and I think reporting directly to management, which I think is a better arrangement because petrol economy are supposed to be a third party. So when you are reporting to petrol engineering, it's a bit of conflict of interest because we are like the advisor to management that tells in a neutral way uh, about projects, the health of a project. Uh, I started off as an engineer for 10 years, started as a cost engineer, uh, later became instrument engineer, back to front end before I made, you mind if I sit down? Before I decided to change, to have a career change, I thought petrol economic looked interesting. And I think one of the driver was that even back then when I first started working, I had a keen interest in spreadsheet, and petrol economics spreadsheet is our day-to-day routine. Before there was Excel, there was actually Lotus 123. Anybody heard of that? Yep. Ada yang pernah guna? No. So Excel basically copied everything from Lotus 123. And in fact, at one point, there's still something that Lotus does that Excel has not been able to do very well. So when I was in Vietnam for 3 years, I was holding a position of JV, planning and commercial aid. It's a small organization. So came back to KL when Charigali Vietnam closes down. So you guys deal with Vietnam a lot, huh? So be mindful. We were actually the first to sign a PSC in Vietnam way back in 1990, I think, 1991. So basically, they sent their staff to Malaysia. We taught them, and they copied our PSC, basically about 90% of that, or more than 90%. So the point I'm trying to make, I hope things has changed for the better. Vietnamese doesn't seem to have a long-term relationship. It is always transactional. Again, I'm speaking about yes. Speaking from my experience, I hope things has changed for the better. Keep in mind that Vietnam is still a communist state, right? So in communism, you don't own anything. So the moment everything became commercial, there is you have to put yourself in their position from not owning anything to suddenly having the power of making tons of money. Take China as an example, when there was a very rampant. China also was from communist to commercial, right? So there was very rampant um, so bribery. Yeah? So I think it became part of the culture. So hopefully things have changed. So remember, we were the first bank PSC in Vietnam, and we were unable to agree on extension. Right? Malaysia Petronas has a very good history of extension for PSC. I think nearly keep on dying. You know what? But nearly all PSC in Malaysia has been extended with existing. Can you hear me? Apart from Shell and Esso, from the first generation 76 PSC, we're going to talk about the evolution of Malaysian PSC and what they are and the reason why the changes need to be done. So, Hashimati, uh, I think like everything in life, we need to understand the past to see why things are the way they are and where the changes are. I was fortunate enough to be seconded to both SO before they merged with Mobile, and so it was Exxon only then. Malaysia is called EPMI, Exo Production Malaysia Incorporated, and also to Shell. So I, I think there's a lot of things you can learn on how they operate. Uh, Petronas unfortunately does not have that maturation yet. And Hibiscus also, I think, is going through the phases where you are maturing as an organization. So one of the most important thing is your relationship with the host. You have your rights and your obligations. At the end of the day, the contract determines everything. Based on my interaction, our interaction with SO and Shell is that when you have a conflict or disagreement, they always say, refer back to the contract. And it's better if you can state which particular articles in the PSC that be polite. They're polite, but they specifically point out to, for example, one of the biggest things that prior to 97, uh, there is no provision about contribution to the abandonment cess. Yes, contractor will have to do the abandonment scope, but it was silent on contributing to the fund, the sinking fund that we use for the abandonment. I call it the KWSB. By the way, if you have children that are uh, coming into oil and gas, consider looking at abandonment and decommissioning. I've seen numbers, and for example, one PSC, full PSC, have 1 billion already, close to 1 billion already, but there's just one. So we are talking hundreds of million. There are about 200 structures in Malaysia. One day there will be need to be abandoned. I think 192 structures, not inclusive of pipeline and onshore. The problem is that it's a chicken and egg. You know where it's coming. It's like death and tax. But when is it going to
gonna happen. I mean, we've been talking about abandonment since, I don't know, 15 years ago. So it's always been deferred. Uh, when oil price is high, so Petronas say, why abandon it? Because economics says that it can still produce commercially. So when oil price is low like here, and then they say, let's not do it yet, because oil price is low. So it's gonna happen. In fact, hibiscus is one of the first abandonment for Angsi here. Just to highlight, do you know that there was a problem that we had to be retendered, and 1 year after that, which was last year, it finally was done. The point is that abandonment is a really new word scope in Malaysia. We have not done it much, so Angsi is probably the third abandonment, but it's one of the major one. Okay, I think that I always ask the participant where they are from. If you can state your name, your current position, and anything that you want to know with regards to economics or contract. So as I told my previous class, take full advantage. I have 30 years of experience, so already paid for. We have a free consultant in front of you. Can I start with Linda?
Okay, everyone. My name is Haslinda Kauri Linda. I'm senior business analyst in business planning and business analysis. So I'm currently doing the 5 years budget and forecasting. And on a monthly basis, we produce the forecast. And apart from that, I'll be reporting as well. So quarterly reports and we have the monthly reports. Something.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Assalamualaikum.
Last week we started with Ko. You know Ko, right? He did Ko. He did a very detailed introduction, and he ended everybody was doing very detailed. But by all means, I think it's useful for me and for the course. The more you talk about yourself and what you expect to get out from the course, I think it's beneficial for you. I've always believed that training should be customized as much as possible.
Assalamualaikum, good morning. My name is Asraf. Currently, I'm sitting as manager in business analysis, short term, 5 years forecast, cash flow.
Same group?
So, before this, I was with Petronas for 9 years, doing legacy accounting, project accounting.
PM?
No, sorry.
Okay.
So, I attended a lot of economics training before, but most of the trainer, most of them are actually from outside. So they don't have,
I think I want to brag a bit. I also attended two, I think, when I was starting, and nobody knows the PSC as we do, because we are the one who actually wrote the things.
So I hope you can share more of a real life, so previous example that I can relate to Chandgali and Karabi, that will be very, very interesting.
Okay.
Morning.
There will be a lot of real life examples, maybe too much. As that from last week, right? Can you watch that? There's many examples.
Good morning, I'm Alan, senior manager, SFO at USC JOA Companies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a new So I'm part of the. I was from CMCS, so now we are in the which combined with CMCS. Um, Before that, I was in for a short while. I was an economist.
Oh, you were ex-economist.
Yeah. Literally, I learned a bit about the process in one.
Okay.
But Excel based on. So there was that. And for that, I was from somewhere. I was looking something around energy, planning.
I think there were a few from Sapura that came to discuss that.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving around. And prior to that, I was in oil and gas consulting type firm, which writes reports for.
Oh,
Yeah, I was covering the upstream sector. So
what company is that?
it was previously known as PFC Energy, and then it's acquired by IHS.
Oh, okay. By the way, sorry, I've been interrupting a lot of you.
In petroeconomics in Petronas, we always have about 4 or 5 spots where people that has been identified to as high flyer, they do a transition a few years in economics, because for you to move up there, your commercial skill is very important, and economic is a big part of that. For example, some of the staff managers who were in the economic department of Carigali are now SGM and GMs elsewhere, especially in the commercial group. A good example is Datuk Adif. He was my boss in economics. So he was identified early on to be a VP at least, and he went through 3 years of heads of economics. So actually, the funny story is that somehow, due to some error, he had 3 positions. He was from CPDD and the planning group. He had transfer later to MPF, RNT, and economics, and he chose to go to economics. In fact, when his time, he was supposed to be there only about 1 year plus. He told his advisor that he wanted to extend it. The whole point I'm trying to make is that regardless of what your technical background is, let's say for example you are a geologist, right? When you move up there, you're not talking about geology anymore. Right? It's good that you have some background, but when you move up there, it's all about business. Right? Remember, our organization is a business entity. So you are here to survive another day and make money. Okay? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lo. I'm a reservoir engineer. Hopefully, I can learn more in terms of petroleum because normally, as a reservoir engineer, you provide profile. See how the profile.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Siad Yotis. I forgot what I said last week. I work under Paul. So,
So, is your boss a good boss or bad boss?
Right, right here, right?
You can say because he was wrong, right?
He's a good boss.
Yeah, joking, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So I've been working at this place for 4 years since I joined. So that's right. All this while I stay in the technical part. week I learned about basic of the economics. Two things like remember today present value and the future value lah. So hopefully this week be able to advance on more understanding on how the material economics doing their economic and what the technical side can provide good and better to the economics.
Assalamualaikum everyone. I'm Shafiq, senior analyst for commercial. I've been in commercial for about 5 years. Before that, about 8 years in business planning and forecast budgeting. I've never left the company. This is my first company after my graduation. The company left me, so I had to receive talismans and that's all I now have discussed. Yeah, so done a bit of cash flow and BAC modeling, economic modeling, especially during business planning and last time. And now under commercial also, whenever we enter into like coming in or do opportunity assessment, sometimes if the economics team is got too much in their plate, so we run on our side, so we build out the model on our side as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think from this section of we try to understand what's new in BAC, not only in Malaysia but in the region as well. So we look for opportunities. And yeah, to all this real life example, what's new and a better run, better opportunity section moving forward as well.
My name, I'm Jessica Lim, work as senior analyst for the economics team. I've actually attended the training, I think back in 2023. Yeah, so I think it'll be a good refresher. Yeah.
What was it? What was the instructor?
You.
Dear
The same.
What is it? Fundamental?
Pardon?
Fundamental or
This,
advanced?
this one, this advanced, yeah,
So,
this exact same one. Yeah. Yeah, it was like a mix of companies at that time. Yeah.
okay. Hopefully at the end of the course you can feedback to me because what year you attended that?
2024.
So quite recent lah.
Yeah, 24 or 23.
You can feedback to me the comparison.
Yeah.
Because I don't like teaching the same thing twice, so I tend to change my material every time. So your feedback will be super useful. Yeah, you look kind of familiar. I have very bad, especially with names. Just can't remember names. It's not because I'm old. Even when I was younger, some people always have problems. Now you're coming back to me. Where was it? Which hotel? I think it's next door, right? I mean, across the street.
I don't know. Like, yeah. Not
Bintang
really,
area.
yeah.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and very good morning. I'm Rashid. I'm the Petrophysics and Subsurface Operations Manager. I only left one company, Slamaje, but then 3 companies left me. The Talisman, Repsol, so 2 companies that now I discussed. I also am tasked to look at PKMB, so I'm the subsurface lead for PKMB. And because PKMB is an upcoming project, I've looked at multiple scenarios for development. In fact, we have looked at more than 100 plus economic runs for PKMB. But me is just throwing numbers and getting better results, and I'm just digesting the answers. So now, getting to understand what each parameters mean and how we get to them will be beneficial. Especially when we're trying to understand why when I do this is happening, and it doesn't intuitively makes sense, but maybe there's something to it that you can shed some light.
Okay, I want to say something about that. Uh, the TPs, are you guys familiar with Petronas TP setup?
Yep.
Okay. So in our department, at my time, the TPs are very experienced. Right? We've moved around. So we've been on other sides of business. So the young economists, actually, they are the one who deal directly with project teams such as yourself. So a lot of time, if I can remember something like Johari window, right? You don't know what you don't know. Same also on the other side. So one of the things that, for example, a young economist does not know much about um, phasing in development, right? And that actually is one of the most critical thing when it comes to project economics. So you don't know how to ask the engineer, hey, can you look at this? And the engineer also, the economist also don't know that, hey, can we do this? So there's always that gap and things fall between the gap. So in fact, what I Jessica, if you can remember, I say this. One of the things that reason for you to attend is so that when you deal with economists, you can trigger something like, hey, what happen if I defer my investment? What happen if I have a higher production upfront? Because economists usually, okay, one of the thing that always stick out to me is that, for example, PE, RE, your KPI usually is RF and producing as much as possible, right? And that may not lead to the optimum. Let me draw a bit. I've showed this last week, so I think it's worthwhile reporting. If you uh, don't develop enough, then your value is low, right? As not a good drawing, but anyway, as you increase, you see. So this is your can be your wealth, capex, and so on, right? Basically, it's your investment resources that you provide. So, for example, you think about it is this is one well. Right? Of course, it may not be economic, right? You need at least a few wells. As you increase, you you increase in a sharp way your value, but later on it still increase, but the rate of increase is not as much as the initial stage, right? And come to a point where increasing your investment can lead to loss in value. So one of the most important thing about economics is you want to find out where is this point. For example, how many wells you need. If you put in 10 platform and drill 100 wells, then your recovery factor will be very high, right? But is that what you want to do? If you are MPM, yes, because you're thinking about national, and two, they don't spend money. So I think this is a general term where if you are dealing with MPM, you're RE, right? So MPM will want you to get the recovery factor as high as possible, right? Because they are not the ones spending the money. So that is something that you have to negotiate, and also keep that in mind when you deal with host authority, where they're coming from. I find I've been in quite a few negotiations, and I think one of the key things when you are negotiating is you need to think from, if you're wearing their hat, where they're coming from. So they also have their aspiration. They have bosses, and bosses dictates on what they do also. Right? So, for example, I think it's quite common that they will want you to extract as much as possible, but at the same time, I think they understand. Most NOCs nowadays understand that you are a business entity and you have your bosses too, right? I mean, you have your investors, your board, and so on, that you have to justify because you're asking money from them. Remind me on one thing when I get to, or maybe I do it now. So it used to be that, especially when you are on the TL, in fact, the Vietnamese told me straight in my face, you make, you guys make so much money already. Yeah? But even in IPM, the old school was, at one time when I was there also, I had this sort of thinking also. So it is quite common, and you may see this kind of attitude also, where the host said, you've been there 15 years, you made your money already, now I was there. It's quite common. But nowadays, I think, I hope, because people like us who are experienced, we know that when you are making your decision, you are doing look forward. It does not matter that I made 1 billion for the last 15 years. Going forward for PKNB, I always have this problem. Now I'm okay, PKNB. You are deciding now. It does not matter that you made. I give you an example. If you have a job offer, right? How do you think? How much it's going to cost you? How much extra you're getting? Yeah? You do not take into account that you work for 10 years with the company and probably make 1 million plus. Right? It's water under the bridge. So I think you may still find that, especially with Vietnamese. I had somebody say it to me, because if you're if you never been on the other side, of course, if you look from this side, you've been the PSC for 10 years, you made 1 billion plus. Now it's my time. But later, when we look at incremental economics, you can't go to your board and say, boss, we want to do this project, even though it's a negative project, because we made 1 billion. Right? So always think, economics is always is for decision making. Forget about the past, except for the cost back. Right? For all intent and purpose, whatever happened in the past does not affect you, except for cost back. As we shall see later. Sorry, I'll be doing a lot of interacting because whatever is relevant at that point in time, I will comment on it. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Shirley. I'm business analyst. I joined the session last week. So good to be back and learn more. Thank you.
Short and sweet answer.
Yeah, always.
Repeat lah yang nasi yang introduction.
Oh, sorry. Macam lagi tak tahu.
By the way, do you guys deal with each other day to day? Not all, Some is
Almost.
most.
Yeah, most of us.
Okay, next.
Hi, my name is Maria. I'm economics analyst. I attended last week's session as well.
Hi, my name is Satya. Everyone calls me Zan. I'm actually the manager of economics for
Was that in a conversation?
Yes, I spoke to you with Suresh and Gila when we wanted to start the training process. Yeah, so what I would like to learn more is how other PSCs are doing economics. Perhaps learn, improve on what we already have now, and have a view of what other contractors are doing under economics, as well as exploration economics, and also perhaps on how to make the technical people understand if the incremental economics is not intuitive to whatever parameters that we put in.
Can you repeat that?
It's like when we do incremental economics, sometimes it's not intuitive to say we put a higher price, but actually the economics is NPV is lesser than when we put a lower price. So that kind of thing is something that maybe I could learn more on how to easily educate the technical group on to make them better understand the results. That part is I think is something that I would really like to understand how other companies are doing it, and also how Petronas are doing it currently now. What are they looking for, and I think their parameters is still IRR, yeah. Like
Nope.
is our DPI.
I told you last week, IR is old school and in fact can be very misleading. So it's always MPV at whatever the company discount rate is. So I'm not sure if thing has changed, but I don't believe so. So probably MPV at 10.
Yeah,
And
because when we spoke to them, so they always ask us what's the IRR, instead of what's the, as long as the MPV is positive, they always ask us what is the IRR.
that tells you also that people at MPM are not that well trained. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
I thought this last week. Does anybody remember what is the IRR for MPM for any project in Malaysia? Remember? Anybody remember? I said that.
Correct? Thank you.
See, for any projects in Malaysia, MPM is always, the IRR is always infinity. So maybe you can ask them, Zakia,
Yeah.
do you know what is your IRR for your project? Just test.
Ask them.
Yeah, if they ask you,
They said minimum is about 15 to 20%.
Sorry?
That's the minimum, 15 or 20%. The
oh my
minimum.
god.
That's JB. Yeah, Jarigali will always not have.
See, sorry, I'm a bit angry. Anyway, I don't work with Petronas anymore. JV used to be the dumping ground. I can tell you that. Because JV is the least critical part of the business. Why do I say that? Sorry, I like to go off tangent, but again, I've done a lot of JV. I've been seconded to ESO, I've been seconded to Shell. When I was in Vietnam, I was the head of JV. But talk about specifically for JV in Malaysia. Why do I say that it's the least critical part of the business for Charigali? By the way, Charigali will automatically have working interest in any PSC in Malaysia, right? Yours, PKNB, they have what? 15 at least?
35.
By the way, are you, when did you sign the PSC?
When did we sign the PSC? When? July 2024.
Okay. So probably you do not have carry provision anymore, right? Is it EPT? Okay, very good. Fantastic. We're going to talk about EPT at the end.
It's like ROC.
ROC.
It's ROC.
It's called EPT, right?
Yeah.
It's a new improved ROC.
Improve ROC.
Yeah, it's called EPT. I do not think they refer to that as ROC because the tables are different. Okay. Coming back, why I said JB was the dumping ground. Okay, can talk about how things were. In fact, the head of the senior GM of JB said that, who used to be my boss in Vietnam, so he was transferred to JB, and he said that it's going to be a challenge for me because I know that JB is a dumping ground. Now, don't repeat me word for word, but I'm telling you exactly what he told us. Okay, my question just now, why JB is not critical? Because when you are JB, you are not operator, right? Your operator is ESO, Shell, Hibiscus, whatever, and you guys do not intentionally make bad decision to lose money, right? So basically, I'm just behind you, and I know for a fact that you as a business entity will want to be the best for you guys. So by virtue of that, I, as your JV partner, don't have to worry too much. Right? So the fact that they say they have a minimum IRR reflects on how poor their understanding of commercial is. Honestly, Petronas, my department is not doing a good job of educating them, right? Because nowadays Petronas is so, it's such word as a silo, you know, where you don't talk. Right? This finger doesn't talk to this thumb. That is bound to happen when you get paid. It's bad in Petronas. I still have friends who work in Petronas, and they say it's getting worse. Right? So the point is, I am surprised to hear that there is a minimum IRR. IRR is when I started working in 1990. Okay, arwah Datuk Idris Mansur. Anybody remember him? He was the CEO of Charigali and SVP for Upstream. Back then in 1990, he always asked, what's IRR for the project? What's IRR for project? Anything? So we had to educate him because he's a big boss, huh? Right? So you have to educate that boss, actually IRR is not a good indicator. we always look at. Honestly, thank you for saying that, but I am very surprised that IRR is just a threshold. Okay? You need to pass this threshold. As I used the word last week, it's a pre-qualification. Right? When you do bidding, for example, your project have to pass a certain threshold. But once it's in the basket of project that passes, you choose the one with the highest NPV at time.
Yeah, I think it's a threshold for the project. It's not the
Meaning,
project is already there. It's already a MPV positive.
yeah, then you don't need to know about IR. Why do you need to know about IR?
But then they always ask for what's the IR.
I
They
think
don't understand.
again,
It's a box that you need to tick.
Yeah, I guess they have to list some. Maybe IR has to be above 15-20%, and only is a good project for them. Whatever below that is not a good project for them.
but again, I repeat from last week, you may have a project IR at 25%, okay? And you have a project. Okay, let me try this. Some of you may remember bila tu? See, if you compare if you're so attached to IR, which project looks better? A, right? And I've actually seen this kind of project. In fact, we were having so much progress that at Economic we decided, okay, from now on, if IRR is above 30 or 40, we don't report that number. We don't report 17 anymore. We just put under the box for IRR, we just put as, because people who don't understand economy will always keep on asking. It causes unnecessary question.
So
Sorry?
deem that is very good, but then in fact it's only 50 million.
Exactly. A very good example is infill drilling, well work over. Because the moment you work over a well, right, you get the gain immediately. But what do you gain from working over a well? Less than 1 million usually, in terms of top 10 barrel. Right? A few 100,000 barrel of additional reserve. But UR is through the roof. Sorry, I easily triggered because kalau benda that I am so because we work on 20 years I was an economist. We work on to make people understand and to hear that is macam ni lah, yang tak bertamadun, and then we try to educate people and to find that I may be overreacting, but to me it's like all the work that we done seems to have gone back to zero.
But it's not used for project ranking. It's used for
I know,
specific project.
Petronas should not be asking you what is the IR. Huh? Okay, sorry, but I'm glad that you told me that. Guys, this is how I'm going to talk, right? So just kena faham sikit.
So meaning the IRR is only applicable in Malaysia or they practice for this others for the Malaysia.
Sorry?
Is
sama je. There was a question about how other companies do their economy. Basically the same. NPV, IRR, DPIR, same thing. Capture incremental economy. That is the most important. And actually, nak buat exercise tu paling susah. Gonna try and do one. Especially bila you masuk overseas, nak buat model tu very complicated. But as I said, this is where it's like the rubber meeting the road. Fundamental is just very theoretical, but this is where the application of economics affect your company on a daily basis. Sorry, next.
Yes, Assalamualaikum. Good morning. My name is Hamdi, commercial analyst. So I don't have any update version of the background that I shared last week. So that's all.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. Awak Ben, yo second floor. I'm reporting to my boss here. So basically, my day-to-day activities are more focused on the
Is your boss a bad boss?
He's a very good boss.
So kena fikir.
Year-end review dah habis lah.
Dah tak boleh tukar.
So basically, my activity is more on the to ensure that what we are spending is accordingly lah. Okay, according to the basically we are ordered by the BSC and BSC government BSC guidelines. So we have to ensure everything must be accordingly to what they are. On my part, I started my career in oil and gas since 2004. Starting with the contractor and then moved to Tangsman, Repsol, Lunden, now I'm busy Petrofec, and then back to Repsol, and I discuss now. But along the way, I think this is my first time attend this economic training. Because all this while I'm more on the technical, especially on the project. So I'm looking forward to see. Previously, I just heard about this economy when people talk together. So maybe I can improve on my activity, my areas of activities. Thank you.
By the way, you can read the screen. We are talking. Last one.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fikri. I'm from Planning and Business Analyst team, same team as Ashraf, Haslinda, and Andy.
Okay, thank you. So as I mentioned, and I told Semarak also, if you want to sell this course, as I said, this is my belief. Actually, more people, this is relevant to more people because it's a fact. I'll give you a bombastic statement now. It's possible that what's the project name? PKND. Is yours in ROC?
PKND is ROC.
No, but anyway, it's possible that a bad project in the ROC can lead to, you might want to do it, by virtue, the movement of the ROC ratio is such that you are making more money by doing that project. Okay. So, one thing that what I've been always trying to say is that nowadays the standard operation mode is ROC, yeah? And ROC is so powerful on the impact on your economy, and like a knife, it cuts both ways. It can lead to a huge loss in value, but it also can lead to a very high increase in value. Like example I gave last week. Now, I do not know of any PSC where you might want to choke your well. So a few years ago, I was doing these courses. I made that statement, and somebody from Enquest actually said, "Mr. Rosby, actually we had to do that." Can you imagine choking down a well for commercial purpose? You might want to do it for technical separation and so on, right? But never. So I was talking in theory, and she said, "Yeah, we had to do that." Okay, remind me when we get to ROC. Basically, is to prevent the movement from one tranche to another. And it also was caused by virtue the older ROC. I think it's up to only 1 decimal or 2 decimal, right? So remind me when we get to that, because now I think they have corrected it. So again, like Puan Zakia said, incremental is the only right way to do things. So I think your question just now, how other people do it, I think same thing. It's just the software they're using. Okay. So Carigali 1999, I believe, Carigali moved away from spreadsheet into commercial software. So for the next 20 years, they were using PIP, and I think they switched when I retired, I think about 2018, they switched to Unima. But the reason that we were driven, we had to use a commercial software is because of incremental. At one time, we had 100 projects, 100 inclusive of existing. So doing it in spreadsheet was close to impossible. How many projects, how many PSC you have? How many projects every year you look at?
I think for PM3 we have quite a bit now. Taklah banyak sampai 100. Maybe like
100 tu masuk dengan existing.
oh, but for the small like infills tu dah tak banyak. Ada but not much.
I'm doing consultancy for a small company, smaller than you, and they're looking at improving their spreadsheet. But they say it's not worthwhile to go to a commercial software. They are trying not to. So maybe later I can talk to you next year. Or
We actually had during Balisman we had Valentine, and then during Repsol we went into Anaplan, and now we're going back to Excel.
Repsol using spreadsheet.
Towards last 1.5 years, they went into Anam plan.
Okay.
So,
So, guys, keep in mind, we're gonna try to do some incremental exercise. When we start doing it, I think you will appreciate what I'm talking with Zakia. Sorry, because this is our bread and butter. It was for me. It's not easy to do spreadsheet, incremental in spreadsheet, right? Especially for your economic limit. Okay, our overseas also, not just overseas, but more so for our overseas. I don't know whether you have this weird situation where you run a project, right? Let's say now, right? PKNB, right? Let's say you get, what's our price today? About 60, yeah? Yeah. 55?
65.
Oh, dah naik. Serious?
Last 2 days around 65.
Right.
Today 65, right?
Oh, it was 60 a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
So let's say, right? Your NPV okay, I just put random number. These are incremental number. Kata next year, or when you do your economics, one of the sensitivity you have to do is on the oil price. So kata you do ASX 65, and what if the high oil price scenario is 75 or 80? We always run into problem, right? Of course, if at a lower price you get a certain number, and at a higher price you get a value that is lower, nothing has changed. For example, your technical is still the same, right? You only have changes in your assumption for oil price. Do you have that problem, Zaki? Further to that, entitlement. What happened to your entitlement at a higher price? You may have a lower entitlement, you may have a higher entitlement, depending on your cost bank. Okay? So most of these are caused by the incremental effect. Right? Not sure if I can do this, but I'll try to explain it. Any question from this page? Standalone means that when you run the economics for a project, you are looking at that project in isolation, regardless whether that already are producing field in that PSA. Right? So for exercise like this, and last week, we can do that standalone because we are trying to learn the concept. But for us economists, we say better not run the economics at all, because you may be, I know I remember you may be, yeah, to me, I always say, they say, they want it fast, they want to do it standalone. And I tell my economists, go tell the project team, don't run economics, so do not run economics for that. Right? It's better not to have a number than have a wrong number. Zakia, just to share with you, be very, very careful when sharing economic number, because people will remember until the day they die, you know. Betul tak? Once they see a number, last year you said the project then you have to explain to them the effect of your, and it is worse if they do not have any technical changes number the data. I will not change my number, they said. The cost is the same, the production profile is the same. How come my economic last year was good, now bad? And oil price last year was lower than this year. Then, and worse if your economists made an error. So a lot of time when this happens, is a blessing for us if somebody made an error, because the problem with project team with economists is that the moment you make one small error, they will remember it for the next 10 years. They forget that kalau if you want to do that as reservoir engineer, can you show me the number, how you get to this number? What porosity you are using? People make mistake, right? But the problem with economics is the numbers sometimes are used to go way up there. Your reservoir engineer, your assumption doesn't go all the way up there. They just want to know. So that's exposure for economics, unfortunately. You want to mention anything, Zakia? This is your time. You have your click here. So at the end of these 3 days, we look at the latest development for. Even though I retired, I'll be keeping track of what's happening. So actually, I'm quite excited on what the industry is going to. In fact, I think I know that you guys are specialized in brownfield. I think for your company way forward, you should look at the small field. We have not seen any small field producing yet, but in theory, there's a lot of potential there. Okay. Last week we talked about NPV. So let's look at NPV in a slightly detail. It's easy, you just put the formula equal bracket NPV, comma, the percentage and the cash flow from the second year onwards, and then you add the first cash flow. We'll do that in exercise. So for example, if we have this kind of cash flow, okay, remember from last week, what do you remember about FV and why we're doing economics? Okay, FV is future value. We are doing economics to come up with the cash flow that we expect for example, PKLB. And the project has not happened yet. The reason that we're doing economics is to decide should we do the project. So we are not accounting, we are only looking at a snapshot of what we think is going to happen in the future. So whatever the outcome of the economics are all FV. It's not going to happen in the future. So we are deciding now. So we need to know what does that future value mean to us currently. So future value brought back to current time is present value. So NPV is net present value. Basically, NPV is the summation of all the future values generated from our cash flow back to So based on this cash flow, where you have investment, you have a negative, start with a negative cash flow, minus 200, minus 100, minus 100, and you have a positive cash flow for the next 6 years of 100. So if you add this whole cash flow up, you have 200, right? You have 600, you invested 400, so your net is 200. Undiscounted, meaning NPV at 0. Once you start applying discounting, your value of 200 now becomes negative 13.6. Right? This happens because you think of when you generate your cash flow, it's all in front of you, right? You need to bring each and everyone back to where you are. Actually, you can do discounting. You can do discounting in year 3. You can do discounting in year 5. You can choose any arbitrary. Meaning, if you are discounting at year 3, you have to bring this to year 3, year 1 to year 3, year 2 to year 3, year 3 as it is, year 4 back to year 3, year 5 back to year 3, and so on.
So you have to escalate the cost, right?
But I don't think anybody does that because it does not meet any, unless using full cycle.
Yeah, we did this on first.
By the way, some company does not escalate historical. They treat as it is. So it depends on your company.
We did that before. So for full cycle, if our needs at year 3, so we just taking the actuals lah considered. But
Thank you, man.
but
I
now
always-
tak.
Huh?
But now we escalate.
I disagree. I lost argument with
Yeah.
to me, is what's done is done. It's water under the table. What do you escalate?
Sekarang kita escalate.
Petronas did that also 15 years ago. We used to treat it as is, right? And then they decide to escalate it. I don't agree until now. So we are here, remember? Now we need to bring everything back to our current where we are now. Right? Can you see it clearly? I blur. Okay. Notice main thing, undiscounted is negative 400. When you discount, it becomes negative 374. Compare with the positive, where undiscounted is 600. When you start discounting, if get reduced so much, it's close to half. From 600 to 360. Right? This one, can somebody calculate for me? 20%? Oh, sorry. 7% reduction for the negative cash flow. 40% reduction for the positive cash flow. Okay? So, if you remember from last week, any investment, the word investment itself meaning you have to pay out something, right? So, by the way, evaluation is the same whether it's for investment, whether it's oil and gas or any other investment is the same. And you always will have negative upfront because you spend money, right? Sia now want to drill 2 more appraisal well, right? So you spend the money, but you don't have production yet because you have not even put your platform in place. So any investment, regardless whether it's oil and gas or whatever, you will always start with a negative cash flow upfront, followed by the positive. So the natural effect of negative being closer to where you are compared to positive being further away from where you are, where you do discounting, the effect on the negative cash flow is much more than the effect on the positive cash flow. Okay. So now what looks profitable at 200 profit undiscounted, when you are discounting at 10%, it becomes a loss. So if your company's discount rate, official discount rate is 10%, this project is a no-go. Any question? Okay, so remember, NPV is a summation of all the PVs, which is all the FV brought back to current year.
So I have a newbie question.
Yes, sir.
The discount rate for the MPVs, right? Different times we have used different numbers. What is the determining factor? Versus, for instance, 12% now, versus a few years ago we were using 10%.
No, I'm sorry. You did not. Sorry, you're saying that last year you do your NPV at.
No, before during Repsol time we had an MPV of 10. Now we use MPV 12. Why the different numbers and what do they really mean? The different discount factors.
Anybody want to answer that from Hibiscus? For the
Should be the cost of capital.
Yeah.
It's a weighted average cost of capital, basically how much is coming from your pocket and how much is your
borrowing.
But a lot of companies have difficulty coming up with a return average cost of capital, so they just back it there.
It may be quite important for you because Hibiscus is quite highly leveraged, right? But look at Petronas. When I first started doing economics, I think we were discounting at 50%. NPV at one time. Suddenly it changed to 10, and we were asking, how did we come to 10? Nobody can answer. Sorry. Sorry, a lot of time is the fear factor of the board member up there. Yeah, you have WA. You can calculate WACC.
I think that is easy because it's the interest, right? But the equity side is difficult because you need to average maybe like early stage.
But I think it's a lot of the appetite for risk of the management of organization. It's just my personal. Yeah, because Petronas, we don't have work. We never take money from outside. So what does it mean? Doesn't that mean for Petronas Group, we should be discounting at a lower number, correct? Because we have MPM on our side and it's a combined cash flow. If you guys, by the way, sekarang ni berapa? Dah 15 kan? The MPV. You're discounting at 12. So it's because the oil price, right? Don't you think that these changes from 10 is going to 12 is caused by the geopolitics and the effect on the oil price. Okay. We do one exercise after this. Now, I did one changes, right? So instead of minus 200, minus 100, minus 100, and 100 all the way, right? For policy. What if I change the timing of the cash flow? Oops. Now, I've only changed this part where it used to be 100 here, right? What if I bring this back to the first positive here? What happens? So when I do my discounting, now instead of negative, I get a positive 14. Just now was negative 13, right? So the total is still the same. Undiscounted, you have 200 because the total here is still 400 investment, and the total of your profit is still 600. 600 minus 200, 400, sorry, 600 minus 400 is still equal to 200. But now, by changing the profile where my cash flow in year 8, I bring it back to year 3. So remember what I told today and last week? It's not just the amount that you're getting, but also when you are getting it. Right? So remember, the amount is the same. My profit is still 600, but I'm bringing forward the final year into the first year. Okay, let us do one exercise. Open your laptop and fire up your Excel. Okay, let's do this together. Okay, first grade is should I give you this spreadsheet? Senang je kan? First you do this. No. Sometimes I have this problem when I'm using Excel. Ingat cerita P. Ramlee, hujung 14 lah. Siapa tak nampak mati esok kan?
Dia buat isi kan? Dalam 74 bulan kan?
Dalam air.
Pendek umur. Kita pendek umur. Okay, guys. Just do this table first. By the way, this is not Excel table. What last week participant found out we start off not using Excel table. So just okay, kita buat sama-sama lah. Can you read to me what was the number? Negative 100, right? 200. Sorry?
Negative 100. The next one, negative 100. Negative 200.
Right?
Yes.
So if I take a sum, we have 200, right? Okay, remember future value is equal to PV present value times bracket 1 plus I to power of n, where I is the discount factor, discount rate, which your company is using now is 12. N is the number of years away from. Okay. So now, example. So a cash flow that happened this year is the cash flow when the year that the cash flow happened minus our current discounting year, which is 2026, right? So cash flow that happened in 2026 is 2026 minus 2026 and equal to 0. Right? Remember? Sorry, we want PV now, so PV is equal to FV divided by 1 plus I power of n. Right? For cash flow that happens in 2027 n equal 2027 minus 2026, right? Which is 1. Yeah. So first let's try to find this discount factor. So let's write out, let's get out in formula. Okay, sometimes
Can you see it? Bit small. So how do we write that formula? So now we have this here. Now this can be confusing, eh? So let's put 2026 now. Let me insert up here. And okay, this is the trick I showed last week. We anchor one of the year, but not the other. So equal this number minus this number, but we anchor this. B1 minus $sign B $sign 1. So when we drag it, because now the next one is moved. You drag to the right, B becomes C, but the number that you are subtracting from, because you put $sign in front, the column, it remains the same. Okay, pay attention, eh? So it's equal, we want in bracket 1, oh sorry. Let me put the I first. Let's use 10%. So equal in bracket 1 plus B1. Let's anchor this. Function F4. Power. To the power of, you use caret. Anybody don't know what caret is? It's the head, right? Right? Depends on your computer. Mine is about the number 6. Caret, let's use open bracket. So to the power of, so we need to change this to decimal point. So if we drag it across, sorry, that is not called discount factor, right? Discount factor is 1 over. Same thing. You instead of dividing, you are multiplying. Equal 1 divided by plus 0 to decimal point. So remember, this is FP, your cash flow. So your PV, your present value, is your FP times your discount factor. You can either take PV divided by row 5 or
multiply by row 6. Oops. This was minus 100, right? It's negative kan? Tak nampak kat situ. Okay, let's check. Remember, ada kita pakai formula ya. Equal NPV bracket. First number is your interest rate, which is V1, comma. Then you take from the second cash flow. So from C, not from B ya. From C to J, close bracket. Then we have to add the first one.
C4J. The road of the road boy.
See, I wanted to see whether you're sleeping. I know you're sleeping. It's fairly positive, right? Okay. The exercise, semua dapat? The exercise is how do you maximize? Move around the cash flow to maximize your MPV. The only rule is that your total negative should be negative 400. Your total positive should be 600 plus 600. So, like just now what I did, I moved from here to here, right? Now you can do whatever you want. As long as the red part totals to 400, negative 400, and the green part totals to 600.
And it's going to always negative first, then positive, or it can jump around.
I only give you one rule. Oh, by the way, guys, siapa dah siap boleh makan. Siapa tak siap. No, actually, you can bring your food inside.
Whatever.
Oh, take a break.
Whatever I want, yeah.
Sama lah, sama. Boleh makan, boleh makan. Boleh makan.
That's the rule.
Tak tahu betul salah, habis sebab sama boleh betul lah kot.
Syafiq memang ah,
Ada.
nak sikit lagi.
Tak sebab
Later.
Supaya drug saya kata. Kalau lepas bulan tu saya tak ada supaya drug juga. Turun bawah. Apa lagi betul? Apa lagi toilet? Turun bawah betul. Sakit kaki tahu. Turun lagi. Nak lagi. Terus juga convenient keluar dari toilet. Tak, saya sakit kaki. Itu baru sakit kaki. Saya rasa saya punya itu rawan pecah. Rawan saya letak. Rawan tu apa? Rawan tu yang tulang yang KFC tu yang putih. Habis retak. Lepas tu yang sakit masa saya sakit teruk-teruk tu. Bukan, saya kena beri. Tu, lepas tu kita kan kuliah saya jatuh teruk kan. Kan kata saya jatuh kuat tu.
Ya.
Yang jatuh tu tahan dengan lutut. Dia kata sebab dia tak ada muda sangat fikir lagi, so tahan dengan conventional. Tapi if it's too painful, then recover sendiri. No. Dia tak ada recover. This is the big.
Betul tak MRI tu you kena ni?
Tak, diorang dah arrange kan, diorang ambil inpatient. I tak payah masuk. I tak payah masuk, diorang yang arrange kan.
So inpatient macam mana?
Diorang request
Tapi
kan.
you kena masuk.
Tak masuk.
Dia sebab dia daycare lah.
Daycare
Dekat on paper is considered
daycare yes. Dia guna inpatient lah.
Ini higher limit.
Mana yang ada parking dekat area ni, balik atau datang pagi esok boleh pakai lift dekat 11. Kita keluar ni, sebelah kanan ada lift. So kalau besok nak naik sikit, tekan dia dekat 11.
Ya. Memang dia kadang-kadang boleh, kadang tak boleh gitu. Ya, dari last week dia. Dia kata conventional lah tu. So yang sakit tu sebab macam kita pinggang retak serpihan tu dia berada kadang-kadang ikut-ikut. Tu yang kejap sakit sebenarnya masa yang teruk ni.
Tajam tu lah.
Yes. And then now kalau I duduk lama I sakit apa dia? Aku duduk lama sakit tu. Sembayang I try solat sujud I try solat of chair nangis nak bangun daripada tak I jalan semua okey dia sebab dia kat atas ni bukan in between tau dia atas kepala atas ni so patutlah pedih kat atas ni dua-dua so dia kata betul lah dia kata. Yes, dia kat atas laptop tak, I jalan semua dah okey. Alhamdulillah, memang way back. Memang I jalan macam biasa. Cuba tak, bila I duduk tak payah. Bila kalau teruk sangat, yes. Cuba bila I duduk macam ni kan, nak bangun tu, di atas ni macam ting. Lepas tu, kalau sampai bangun dia pagi, tak ada. I tak makan begini. Sekali macam ni lah, I have to bear with it lah. So dia kata, kalau yang teruk sangat, teruk sangat, I memang tak kena take it. Dia kata, tapi hari tu yang teruk, yang I tak boleh tidur tu, I makan pergi okey je, Alhamdulillah kan. So sebiji je I makan pergi okey je, Alhamdulillah. Yang I teruk, yang last, yang hari tu. Lepas tu dia kata, kalau tu sangat, dia buat lubang masuk tulang. Dia cuci, dia keluarkan all the sembilan tu. And then kan dah macam scarring kan. So dia ambil darah, dia put on top of the rawat supaya seal. Tutup lubang. Kita dah Australia cantik dia tua. Dia begini. Retak. Dia